Imagine ramping up nuke tests for the fear of missing out. That might sound like a glib way to summarize the statement made this week by Donald Trump. But in truth, his announcement is anything but flippant. The US president has declared that the United States will, quote, immediately resume testing its nuclear weapons after more than 3 decades of moratorium, citing the need to match rival powers such as Russia and China. The Post casually dropped hours before a scheduled meeting with China's Xi Jinping jolted Washington, startled allies, and reignited a debate many thought was buried with the Cold War, the return of US nuclear weapons testing. Here's what lies beneath the headlines. Donald Trump's message is clear, and I'm quoting, "Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately." On the surface, it is about parity. Trump's phrasing, "on an equal basis," implies a fear that Washington is falling behind Moscow and Beijing in the nuclear arena. He specifically names Russia and China as the impetus for this decision. Notably, the US has not conducted a full nuclear explosive test since 1992, a 33-year hiatus that had become both a technical tradition and a moral statement. Remember, no credible evidence suggests either Russia or China has resumed full explosive testing. Both, like the US, have relied on computer simulations, subcritical experiments, and delivery system demonstrations to keep their arsenals sharp without breaking long-standing global norms. The irony is stark. The world's most powerful military power appears to be considering a return to nuclear testing, not out of necessity, but out of perception. A sense of strategic FOMO, the fear of missing out on a dangerous kind of technological theater. But the devil is in the details and in what isn't said. What kind of testing does the president mean? There is no clarity whether he refers to a full-scale explosive nuclear detonation or a more modest test. Experts note that a true detonation would take years to prepare. Legal and technical readiness. The entity responsible for full nuclear testing is the National Nuclear Security Administration, and the US infrastructure for underground nuclear testing has been dormant for decades. Resuming might well take at least 36 months, as per observers. This decision carries potential weight both for national security and for international stability. On one level, the announcement is a bold message of strength. The US is signaling it will not relent when rivals advance. Russia's recent tests of its nuclear-powered missile systems such as Burisvestnik cruise missile and the Poseidon nuclear-powered torpedo clearly factor into this context. In an environment of rapidly shifting power balances, the US may be sending a message: we will not be outpaced. On other level, the move is worrisome. Resuming nuclear testing, especially if it means a break in the nearly 30-plus-year norm of no explosive tests, could reignite a latent arms race. Analysts warn that other states, notably China, India, and Pakistan, could feel compelled to respond, thereby undermining years of restraint. It could also erode existing arms control norms. Although the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty never entered into force, the moratorium adopted by major powers has been a central anchor of non-proliferation. The timing is especially provocative. Announcing this just ahead of a meeting with Xi Jinping aimed at trade and broader engagement introduced a huge complicating factor. Diplomacy is now refocused through the lens of nuclear rivalry. For US allies and partners, particularly in Asia, the move could raise questions. Is the US leaning into military rivalry rather than stabilizing alliances? There are arguments in favor of vigilance. Deterrence still matters. If rivals are expanding their arsenals and developing new delivery systems, a credible US response may be seen as necessary by some strategists. Testing new technologies may help assure allies and keep the nuclear deterrent viable in a changing world. But the counter arguments are powerful. A full test would risk releasing radioactive fallout, even if underground, and would symbolically reset the nuclear age. The lack of detail suggests the announcement may be more about signaling than substance. Yet the signal itself carries consequences. The US's claim in announcement that it has more nuclear weapons than any other country is factually questionable. What we are seeing is not merely the echo of Cold War rhetoric. It may be the opening chords of a different tempo in nuclear politics. The world's nuclear powers stand at a crossroads. Either they reaffirm the principle that restraint is a form of strength, or they spiral into a new era of competitive escalation. In 1945, the nuclear age began with a flash in the desert and a warning from Oppenheimer about humanity's capacity for self-destruction. In 2025, that warning feels newly relevant. If Trump's announcement was meant as a show of strength, it may instead be remembered as a test of America's judgment, not its weapons.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.